at how much we've had to deal with the explosion of information over the last several years in our organizations, and we consider how much challenge that's been for us, if nothing else, what I take away from this is, it's only going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And this concept has had a profound effect on how we view information at EMC. How many of us have ever thought of ourselves as technologists? But when was the last time you heard of anybody refer to themselves as an informationist? Anyone? And yet, isn't that what we do? Isn't that what we really bring to our organizations in terms of value? It's truly the information. Now, if there's only two words that I want you to remember out of this session going forward, it's the two words I'm about to show you, which will define where we would like to be able to believe we're going to add value for you going forward into the future. And those two words are information infrastructure. And unfortunately, I don't think they're particularly self-descriptive or self-defining. So let me attempt to do that in a very simple manner. If conventional IT infrastructure is all of those horizontal tiers: storage, networks, servers and operating systems, applications and database, information infrastructure is a vertical slice through every single one of them that concerns itself with what matters from the information's perspective. How do you create it? How do you move it? How do you store it? How do you protect it? How do you optimize it? And most importantly, how do you leverage it, which is what those of us that truly are informationists really do for our organization, which is deliver information to the people that need to be able to use it going forward. So if we were going to add value from the information's perspective, with our starting point being storage, we believed our core competence at EMC was predominantly, well, we knew how to build storage platforms. We started with conventional storage and also moved into some archival class storage class platforms and software. We also felt we had built software that predominantly was associated with protecting what went on that storage to a large degree, mostly from an availability perspective. But we felt that wouldn't be enough. And beyond the protection and the availability and the archiving and the storage, we felt there were four things, very specific things, that we did not have that we would need if you were going to add value into that space. And in no specific order, those four things were security, content management, resource management, and virtualization. We then said we're going to need to get that knowledge and expertise and product. So we started off on an acquisitions binge, the likes of which has rarely been seen in this industry. And my opinion is, to the outside world, I don't know that we've historically done as good a job of communicating what our thinking was and why as probably we could have. And to the outside world, I think this almost looks insane. Anyone would say, why is a storage company, which is what we were in the past, buying a document management company or a network virtualization company or an image capture company? I don't get it. And how in the world are they going to integrate all of those companies and all of those technologies together? Isn't this more than one company can bite off and chew? Amazingly, actually not by accident at all, every single one of the major acquisitions that we made fell very, very nicely into those four categories of security, content management, virtualization, and resource management. And we also had an unfair advantage in acquiring these companies that you don't normally see in IT. Normally, most IT acquisitions take the form of a large company acquiring a smaller company. And when a large company acquires a smaller competitor, which is normally the case, often you have to deal with rationalization of overlapping competing products, overlapping competing manufacturing, engineering, research and development, channels to market, and dare I say it, you also have to deal with politics and emotions. When a large competitor acquires a smaller competitor, we are expected to somehow, as customers and users, believe that, oh, these companies have been fighting each other for decades, but now all of a sudden, magically, they're best friends overnight, right? Doesn't always happen that way. We didn't have any of those problems because not only were none of these companies that we acquired competitors, but virtually all of them were partners of ours before we acquired them. Not just partners at the marketing and sales level, Partners at the engineering and product integration level, at the support level, at the let's do something really interesting in terms of mixing our products level. And curiously, a lot of these companies were also technologies that we ourselves had chosen at EMC for their functions, for how we would do what they do in our own internal IT space at EMC. So we tended to come upon these companies, and what made them attractive to us as an acquisition target was usually either their partnership relationship with us, or the fact that we had already evaluated them and their competitors, because none of them competed with us, and chosen their technology for what we wanted to do that function for with their particular pieces. Let me give you one example of one where we've already done it, way too quietly also in my opinion, where I think it makes a lot of sense. How many of you in this room have ever heard of a product called InfoScape? Any hands? I see, wow, yeah. I see a couple hands from some of the EMC senior people, right? I sometimes will get blank stares when I throw that out. InfoScape, oh, I've never heard of it. InfoScape won InfoWorld Magazine's Product of the Year in its category as a version 1.0 product last year. This is what it does. Imagine if your cell phone were to go off in about 1 minute, and on the other side of the phone is the chief legal counsel for your organization, the top law officer in your organization. And I'm sure this scenario has never been something anybody in this room has ever had to deal with. And imagine they say to you, I need your help in IT. I need to know every single record and file anywhere in our entire organization, and I need a copy of it that has the name Ken Steinhardt on it anywhere. Don't ask questions, and of course I needed it yesterday. None of us have ever had to deal with that kind of legal discovery or e-discovery challenge, right? So I don't think I overstate the word pain when I describe what we go through in IT to satisfy those kinds of requests. This is what InfoScape can do for you. InfoScape says, I will go out to every single file and discover your entire infrastructure using the smarts technology without you having to define it for me manually. I will then use the Documentum technology to create a unified metadata repository of everything that I've found and learned while using the smarts technology to go out there. I'll then use some EMC developed software to do a full text search looking for that text string, Ken Steinhardt's name, in any of the records or files that were located. And then I will use the legato technology, if appropriate, to even do a physical data movement by policy of all of what it found over to a specific protected storage environment should you want to do it. Smarts technology, Documentum technology, EMC technology, legato technology looks, feels, and runs like one product. So to summarize, all of the major product areas that EMC has actually fall into 4 major categories. Our traditional one of storage is still going to be around, and we're still going to invest more than anyone in the history of this industry to be able to differentiate clearly what those products look like. My personal opinion is that the size and sheer scope of what we will keep as online archives into the future will actually be greater than conventional storage. In the area of protection, conventional views of protection have tended to focus on availability and integrity. But just as important going forward, I truly believe, especially these days and from now on forever, will be the aspect of security. Optimization are really, when you think about it, the tools that say, how do I get smart so that I don't have to buy as much storage as otherwise I would have? And where 10 years ago, EMC would have probably tried to inflict as much physical capital equipment on your organization as your accounts payable could endure, our value proposition today is if we do these things right, in our environment, you have the most highly optimized, most efficient, less physical storage compared to any other environment, and sometimes massively so. And then probably the most important out of all 4, if we truly believe that we are informationists going forward, it's how do we leverage the information.